Good morning. This is the JP Dinnell podcast, episode 29. I am JP Dinnell, and as always, I have Lucas with me. Being a victim is easy because when I'm a victim, I do not have to take responsibility for anything. I literally get to blame everybody around me. I get to blame the environment around me. I get to legitimately take zero responsibility, no ownership. I don't have to take any ownership when I play the victim card. And unfortunately, we all tend to have some people, a few people, or maybe a lot of people in our lives that actually support this mindset by telling us it's okay, or hey, it's not your fault, or hey, I'm really sorry, you don't deserve this, or I can't believe this happened to you. And they're encouraging the victim mindset and mentality. Now, I personally do not believe those people in our lives are saying and doing these things with the intent of keeping us in the victim mindset. I think they do it because they do it themselves and they play the victim mindset and they think that, okay, this is just part of life because unfortunately we have allowed ourselves to become mentally weak. Now, I'm thankful for the parents that I had because I did not have mentally weak parents. I had mentally strong parents. I had strong parents. I had mentally tough parents that didn't allow us to do those things as kids. But as I got older, those things had shifted and changed, unfortunately, in my life. There was times where I allowed that mental weakness to creep in. You know, in the reality of this is the best thing that we need when these times are happening is someone telling us the truth. That's why having good parents are important. That's why having good mentors and just people in your life like that are going to tell you the truth. That's why it's important to tell people the truth that are in your lives, like I did. Like I had somebody in 2015 tell me the truth. I had a buddy ask me a very simple question when I was playing the victim card. Now during this time, 2015, I was divorced from Amanda officially. I was drinking all the time, mixing it with painkillers. I was doing things that I should not have been doing with people I should not have been hanging out with. I was partying hard. My life was a whirlwind going down the drain, and I was sabotaging myself and my life and everything. My health was really bad. I was really out of shape and I was not taking my training serious for MMA fights. Work was just average. Work wasn't growing like it should have. Business was not growing. I wasn't going to church. And I remember I was at the gym. We got done with a very hard training session and I was just sitting there complaining to a buddy about some stuff, and he sat there and he listened to everything that I had to say. And I remember he takes a breath and he looks away from me and then he looks at me and he said, you know, bro, when are you going to get your stuff together? This is not who you are, JP. You need to stop blaming everyone else and actually take responsibility for your life. And I remember sitting there listening to what he had to say and knowing that he was correct. He was correct. And he was a good friend because he told me the truth. And that's what good friends do. That's what good leaders do. That's what good parents do. That's what good humans do, is they tell people the truth. And at this moment of my life, I was being mentally weak. And what I needed was a good friend, a good teammate telling me the truth. And having that hard conversation, because to be honest, for him to say those things to me is what most people would consider a hard conversation. And we had a really good relationship. And so when he asked me that very simple question, it was not a withdrawal in our leadership bank account that we have together. It was actually a deposit because I needed somebody to call me out in a constructive manner. And I'm very, very thankful for that conversation because it made me reevaluate some things. And that's when I started looking at things differently. And not long after that, the book Extreme Ownership came out. And it was a reminder to me what I needed to be doing in my life. So when I read Extreme Ownership, I read Extreme Ownership with an open mind. And it was liberating because it reminded me of what I should be doing and what I could be doing and what I needed to do. And it helped me get my mental toughness back because it reminded me of what I used to do in the SEAL teams. It reminded me of what I did as a young adult, as a teenager, and as a kid because of my good parents, because of my mentally tough mom and dad that held the line when it came to not making excuses, because they always taught us you can make excuses or you can make things happen. You can't do both. Which is it going to be? And I'm thankful to my mom and dad for that mindset, for making me mentally tough. And I'm thankful for Extreme Ownership, for reminding me to take ownership of my life. And again, I'm thankful for the reminder of my good buddy Andy Frisella with his book, the Book on Mental Toughness. So, what's up, Lucas? How are you doing?
What's going on, man? I'm doing okay.
Yeah? What's up? Why just okay?
Why just okay? It's because it's hard for me to, our relationship didn't start until way after 2015, right? So hearing these kind of stories where you're talking about you playing the victim card and throwing yourself a pity party, that is so contrary to the guy that I know that it's a little difficult for me to compute that this, I know everybody goes through seasons in their life. You're talking about, I was feeling sorry for myself and this guy did come up and I'm like, no, he didn't. That just doesn't make, that just doesn't make sense. That
I was really good at it.
Yeah?
I was really good at it, man. I mean, now, when I say I was drinking all the time, not when I was with the kids. I had the girls or Aiden, and that's the thing, even though Amanda and I were divorced, I would still do stuff with Aiden because there was times he wanted me to pick him up for school, or or Amanda needed help getting Aiden to school, and and I would do that because, bro, I still love that kid, you know, and I still consider him my son,
right?
And and also that's the right thing to do,
yeah.
So, anyways, but I wasn't drinking around the girls, and I wasn't drinking around Aiden, and Amanda wouldn't drink around them, right? That was our thing, that was our agreement, and it was just when I didn't have them, man, I was putting down a bottle of Jameson or 2 gingers every night.
Dang.
Yeah, and mixing it with painkillers, and I mean, I was super unhealthy. I mean, one of my MMA fights, I was fat, bro. Not thick like I am right now. I know for the listeners, listen, I know I need to lose weight. I get it. Yeah, I freaking read your guys' messages and comments. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. That dude was never a SEAL. Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just a plus size model these days. All right, that's what I'm looking for. That's what my aim is. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, you are the proper size and gender to be on the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition now.
Oh, good Lord, we went there. Wow, we went there. The first time we ever might edit something out. Yeah, but I was, really, really badly out of shape, and more importantly, not just from an aesthetic, how I look, I was unhealthy, man. Mixing, taking painkillers and drinking every day, that's not good.
Right.
And work was just average.
Yeah.
I wasn't excelling like I should have, I was when I first got out. I wasn't going to church. I was hanging around a lot of different people. And it was just I just wasn't a good human, man. I wasn't a good Christian.
Yeah.
And I was raised to be a good Christian. And I wasn't being, ultimately, if we're really looking at it, I wasn't being a good Christian. I wasn't being a man of God.
Yeah.
And when I look back at those times, it's just it's embarrassing. It's literally embarrassing, and it's one day I know my kids are going to listen to these episodes and they're going to have questions and they're going to ask me, and we're going to have those hard, truthful conversations. Right. And I'm going to, explain to them those times for what they need to know. And, now Aiden, he's 18. He's a young man. He's graduating in 5 weeks, bro.
Good grief.
When this comes out, he graduates in 5 weeks.
Wow.
And, yeah. And it's just, I'm going to have to share these stories with him so that he doesn't allow the same things to creep in. Or when they do creep in, because I think they creep into everybody.
Sure.
He can recognize it, recalibrate, and then like get himself back on the path that he
get it
needs to be
sorted
in.
out.
So
Yeah, I know you've mentioned to me a couple of times that like there was this period and that you had that essentially like in your fight camps and those kind of things that you maybe weren't as strict as you needed to be, but that you won a couple of fights just like by sheer force of will.
Just straight team guy mode, which is crazy.
So is this like that same time period?
Yeah,
okay.
Same time frame. So I would, there was fights that I went into just fat, out of shape, was drinking all the way up. I literally drank like the night of weigh-ins because wasn't really cutting any weight or anything.
Right.
Or I'd cut a little weight, boom, and then I have a Jameson and ginger before I go to bed. Like just stupid, like crazy stuff. And having a beer like backstage before I go out and actually fight.
Like, gosh, dude, you stress me out so much.
I know. And not good, man. And I remember like one of my coaches like, man, like you won that fight because you're a team guy.
Yeah.
Like he's like, don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
Like never again. Like he was frustrated and mad because he knew that I didn't train. I was sloppy,
right.
And it was just a straight up like mentally tough team guy fight. Like, and it was stupid. It was so stupid, man. And it was, like crazy because I was able to get through that fight by being mentally tough, right. By not quitting, by like working really, really hard and digging like past like what most people would be able to do. And it's like, well, I can't do that in any other aspect of my life. I can't do that to go to church on Sunday. I can't do that to like meal prep and stick to a diet. I can't do that to not drink. Like I can't tell my, and so it's just crazy. And like, that's another reason why, like, 422 days ago from now when we're recording,
right.
It'll be like when this comes out, like 426 or whatever it is. I woke up and I was like, I'm not drinking anymore. Yeah. And we talked about this before, but right now, currently I'm at 422 days, 426 when you hear this on the recording of me just not drinking. And part of it was like, how do I expect other people that I'm encouraging not to drink to do it when I'm not doing it myself? And because I'd always say, well, like, oh, it's not a problem. It's not an issue. Well, okay, then just don't do it. Then don't drink. People are like, oh, it's not a problem. Well, cool, then don't drink. Why? You're drinking poison. You're literally drinking poison. Now, I know the same could be said about like a soda or something else, which is cool. It's just same. That's factual.
Especially diet sodas.
Yeah, those are poison, right? You're drinking all that sugar and all the other stuff that they put into drinks is all poison.
Yeah.
But, and so that's why I chose to not drink anymore, is to help people and just to show like I can easily just not drink.
Right.
Well, then do it. But back in this period of my life, like I was, imposing no mental toughness in my life. I wasn't holding myself accountable. I was lazy and just coasting. And when you allow yourself to coast, that's when things start to fall apart.
Yeah. I actually have written down here, what kept you from applying the same kind of tenacity to your emotional, mental, and spiritual aspects of your life. Because I do think that there are a lot of people, and I would put myself in this category, right? That if I have a goal, like if I'm getting ready for a competition, and because as you have pointed out before, I'm a bit of a nerd. So whether those competitions,
that's a compliment.
Well,
I don't mean that derogatory.
No. But I'm saying that to like set up for. So when I stopped competing in like bodybuilding and powerlifting stuff, when I was trying to find like that next niche, right, of like I need to do something competitive, I competed, and you'll love this, in tabletop games, right? So like. Competitive. There was a group that played a game called Star Wars Destiny that was made by Fantasy Flight, and so I would go and buy cards, build decks, and like that was my competition. And now that's become a one of those things where Kirsten is like, we have thousands of cards and dice in these boxes in this one closet. are we keeping these? Like, what are we doing with these? I'm like,
You need
I
to
don't
sell
know.
them.
Yeah, I don't know. But that was a huge aspect of it. So when there was something that I had like a goal, okay, hey, I want to win a regional, whether that regional was something with the card game where I would stay up late and like look at other people's strategies and how are people using these things, and will this deck that I brought bring another or beat another deck that is common or is used in the meta, like what kind of cards and stuff can I use? Or whether it was prepping for a bodybuilding competition where I was like, I am dying of thirst, but I know if I drink 2 ounces of water before this weigh-in, I'm not going to make weight.
Yeah.
Right? That if I had a goal, I could reach that thing. But in both of those times, knowing that like, hey, you know what? I need to go and get some time alone with God. Mentally, I was like, actually, not on my list of goals. So this is an area where I became mentally
Crazy.
weak. Why can we do... How is it, let me phrase it this way, how is it that we can show extreme amounts of mental toughness in some aspects of our life when it has to do with like goals or maybe something that we want to do or need to do, right? Like maybe you didn't want to have that fight, but as soon as you get in there, like you've got to win so you can push through.
Yeah.
But, you know, your emotional health, your mental health, your spiritual health, all of those things were falling aside, but you showed incredible mental toughness in this one area and none in the other. Like, how does that happen?
It's not a priority.
Okay.
Because I had not made these other things a priority. When it's a priority, you'll do the work. That's why you've heard me say, and Cody said it on a podcast, and he always like gives me credit back to it. But it's funny. It's like, bro, I'm willing to bet I didn't invent this, but it's just something I was thinking one time when we were doing training, and I like to reiterate this a lot, is you're not allowed to say, I don't have time. It's just not a priority. So if you were to say, hey, I don't have time to work out today, that's a lie. You have all the time of the day to work out. It's just not a priority.
Yeah.
I don't have time to meal prep. That's a lie. You're just not making a priority.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have time to take my wife out on a date this week. That's a lie. It's not a priority.
Yeah.
I don't have time to go to my kid's soccer game. I've got all this work I need to prep for this next upcoming trip. That's a lie. It's not a priority. I don't have time to, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. I don't have time to read the Bible. I don't have time to have my alone time with the Lord. That's a lie. It's not a priority. And so the issue is we are out of alignment with what should be a priority, because we think these other materialistic type of things are a priority, when in reality, the number one priority should be our relationship with the Lord.
100%.
I was talking to Jocko about this last night, about, you know, the greatest gift that we can be given to other people. I was talking, is just like the understanding of the importance of being saved, not just knowing who God is or knowing who Jesus is, but actual salvation, like actually being saved, committing your life to the Lord. That's what people need. Yeah. Like that's the number one thing. And, I was talking to him about that and my thought process on that and everything that's kind of going crazy with the world right now. And, just people in general, and how there's a lot of spiritual attacks, coming towards Echelon Front. And I told him, I was like, man, like it's because we are providing value to create better leaders. And a huge threat is strong Christian leaders.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's a whole other topic that we can talk about in the future. But anyways, the premise was him and I just talking about how like just things are crazy in the world right now. And I was talking about like salvation and how like not just like, hey, I'm good with God, but like truly knowing that you're saved.
Yeah.
And so if I know, like, that's a very, very important thing, and that should be one of the top things that I'm focused on in regards to my family, like, is, hey, making sure that my family is saved and that we're, living our lives the right way, then I'm going to wake up and go to church on Sundays, and we're going to do small groups throughout the week, and our kids are going to be at Elevate, through that group, the youth group that we have at Milestone. And, like tonight, like our daughters are going, like they're part of this group. I can't remember what it's called. It's Street something like street team or something,
Okay.
where basically they're going to go and they meet at the church on Monday, and they're going to pray over people that they want to be inviting to church, and then they
that's
come
cool.
up with game plans for inviting kids to church throughout the week. And
Yeah.
it's about them being intentional to grow the church through our youth.
Yeah.
But teaching like our kids, like it's awesome. They're teaching our kids how to like truly build good relationships, and how it's just awesome. I'm like, yes, of course. Is that another 35-minute drive from our house down to Keller?
Right.
And what do you do while you're there? Do you hang out for the hour and a half they're there? Do you run errands in the area? Do you come back home and then turn around?
Sit in the truck, answer emails.
Yeah,
like,
it could be a minor inconvenience, or it's just like, all right, well, what's the priority? It's my kids doing these things. That's the priority. All right, what do I do during that time? It's just, we're not allowed to say I don't have time. That's a lie. It's just not a priority. So the reason why I have allowed myself over the years to be mentally weak is I lost sight of what's important and what I need to be focusing on. And I got complacent. And the other thing is, here's the other thing a lot of people struggle with, Lucas, is trying to do too many things at once. Because if you're doing too many things at once, where are you supposed to put your focus? And if you don't know where to put your focus, how are you supposed to dive deep and actually be obsessed with that? And obsessed not in a bad, unhealthy way, but like being obsessed to read the Bible, being obsessed to spend time with the Lord, being obsessed to love on your wife and take her out on a date, being obsessed to spend time with your kids without your cell phone and just being present, being obsessed to go crush yourself with a workout that at the end of it, you want to lay down flat on your back, but you don't, because laying flat on your back is a sign of surrender and weakness and defeat. So instead, you're forcing yourself to be on your hands and knees, and then forcing yourself to stand up, and then forcing yourself to walk after a hard workout. That's what I want to be obsessed with, and that's what my focus is this year in 2024, is bringing that mental toughness back into all the important aspects of my life. And notice I didn't say all aspects of my life,
Right.
but all the important aspects. And that could be the same. I know that somebody's
Sure.
like, well, all the things in your life are important. I agree. But for me, when I say the important things in my life, it works for me to reframe the way I think and look at things. So now I can be honest and be like, is this important? Is this important? Yes or no? If it's important, then let's get to work. If it's not, okay, it can go on the back burner for right now, because it's still something that could be important or was important, but right now it's not a top priority. And I have to be thinking about, okay, what's the number one priority? Like we talk about in prioritize and execute, when things are happening in your life, you have to be able to step back, detach from your emotions, relax, look around, make a call, and think about, hey, what is going to have the greatest impact on accomplishing the mission? That's what I have to think about. And when I can pause and say, all right, this is going to have the greatest impact on me accomplishing this mission, then it actually allows me to be mentally tough. It allows me to do the things I need to do. And it's reading good books like this. Like, this is a great reminder. It's a great book. To me, I look at it as a tool. I was texting with Andy. I'm like, bro, your book is incredible. It's a tool. Like Jocko's Leadership Strategy and Tactics Manual.
It's incredible. It's phenomenal.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Extreme Ownership. It's a tool.
Not so bad.
Yeah. Dichotomy of Leadership. It's a tool. These things are tools because they provide value.
Yeah.
And I hope that I can get myself this year to a point where I'm just dialed in. Just like I was as a sniper, just dialed in on my training and my abilities, not my desires, but my abilities. My capabilities are just so dialed in that people look at me as an asset, as a tool that they can employ to go get the job done. And so that's kind of where I'm bringing my mindset back.
Yeah. For those who aren't on YouTube, the book he held up was Andy Frisella's The Book on Mental Toughness, not the counterfeit edition, the real thing. Which you can only get from his website, right?
Yeah, you can. We're going to dive into this book. So the book on Mental Toughness by Andy Frisella. You can only order it on andyfrisella.com. Not on Amazon. It's okay. We might have known a few people
myself
that got duped You and actually a few of my other buddies.
Really?
Yeah, because they looked on Amazon because that's what we all do.
So I've finished.
yeah.
Well, I've almost finished the counterfeit version of the book.
It's got to be just gross,
Bro, it's so rough. It is so rough. And we sent an email to Amazon, and they were like, "Yeah, just send it back." I was like, "Okay, cool." So
That's awesome.
I'm gonna finish it and send it back.
Send it back with some like.
It's
some
like an
notes
AI
on the inside.
pamphlet. Yeah, yeah. This is fake. Order Andy's book
Exactly,
from-
so
yeah,
it can't
right.
be resold.
Yep.
But now you know. Now
Yeah.
our listeners know. You go to andyfrisella.com. That's ANDYFRISELLA.com. All right, let's see.
And tell him JP thinks he's a tool. No, JP says his book is a tool. I got that wrong.
I was like, whoa, shots fired. Why are you trying to
Start beef with Andy Frisella.
you're just choosing war right away. All right, chapter 2, Whiners and Winners.
I like the title of this.
I love it, dude. Zero. Yeah. Anyways. People have fought throughout history. There are all kinds of reasons why. Land, power, and wealth, to name a few. But in recent decades, we've seen a new kind of battle. The battle for victimhood. Dang, that's crazy to think about. People want to argue with strangers about people want to argue with strangers about who had the hardest life, who faces the greatest struggle. They want to list out every single perceived obstacle, not only in their own life, but from the entirety of history. The winner of this Victim Olympics gets to feel justified about how they hate their life and everything in it, because it couldn't possibly be their fault that they're not happy, right? It couldn't be their responsibility to change things and to start winning the day. That's why we have this victim culture. People fight for the right to blame their problems on anyone or anything but themselves. Now, let me make this real clear. If you participate in that kind of behavior, the only person you are a victim of is yourself. You grew up poor. Okay, what are you going to do about it? You got picked on as a kid. Okay, what are you going to do about it? Your partner left you. Okay, what are you going to do about it? I mean, there's so much good in this book.
Yeah.
I could have just continued
We
to
could have
read,
read the chapter.
but, just with those opening thoughts and statements, what do you got?
So we've talked about this before. I don't know that we've talked about it on this show in particular, but our church does some work with survivors of human trafficking, and it's a challenge, right? So we're part of a group called C7, which is a coalition of the 7 counties that make up North Central Texas.
Okay.
And there are law enforcement agencies, there are churches, there are safe houses, and a number of other organizations that either build awareness or they help look for girls who have been taken. And they have like nationwide organizations and then local organizations that do things on different levels. So we work with these groups to help survivors of human trafficking. We advocate, we provide spiritual assistance, kind of spiritual counseling, those kind of things. We provide counselors that help them get emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically right, and then help them, go to school, trade school, college, whatever, give them a place to live so that they can be we put it in a way that can sound a little harsh, but like reintegrated into society, because like what actually happens is when they're taken captive, that they are removed from everything, the social and mental control that's on these poor survivors. Dude. Is crazy. But we changed our vernacular a few years ago from victim of human trafficking to survivor of human trafficking.
That's amazing. Because
of the attitude that it gives the survivors. So whether they're male or female, and there are a lot of male survivors of human trafficking, and it's not talked about right now. I think worldwide that young men being trafficked has just come over the 50% threshold, where it's no longer a 50-50 50% split, that there's actually more young men being trafficked than young women right now.
That's
Globally, not in the United States, but globally. And it's absolutely insane to think about those kinds of things because that's not something that enters into our mindset at all.
Yeah.
Right? That said, the change in vernacular from like, hey, you're a victim of human trafficking to you're a survivor of human trafficking, from a counseling perspective, from a reintegration perspective, from seeing the survivors now have the mentality to overcome things has completely changed. And it has been like a concerted effort globally to change this vernacular from victim of human trafficking to survivor. And with something just as small as that vernacular change, the percentage of survivors that are completing programs has gone up in double digits.
That's insane.
With something that's that small, because now we're not telling them, and the people who are around them that are trying to help them out aren't telling them every day, you're a victim. They're like, you're a survivor.
Yeah.
And a person who's a survivor, they freaking scrape and claw and do whatever they can to make it to the next thing. And a person who's a victim is somebody who like needs help and has to do all of this stuff. They're not somebody that can scrape and claw. They're sitting in the corner, kind of huddled. And that's one of the exercises they do with a lot of these kids is they're like, when you hear the word victim, what do you think? When you hear the word survivor, what do you think? Is in some of the very first counseling sessions. And when they talk to them about how they view a survivor, a survivor is somebody who's strong and a survivor is somebody who can overcome obstacles. They're like, that's what you are. Wow. You made it through all of this stuff.
Dude.
You are a survivor. You're not a victim. If culturally, I think we could adopt that same attitude, like that would be a massive shift from what the book is talking about.
Yeah. I'm thinking there's just, oh man, I love switching victim to survivor.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, my Aunt Connie survived breast cancer.
Yeah.
Amanda's aunt, our Aunt Jenny, survived breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I have family members on both sides of the family and also Amanda's that have just survived so many things, and it's, you switch it to that mindset. It's incredible. Like with my dad, like all the injuries and all the sickness and all the surgeries he's had over all the years, it got to the point where they're like, hey, life over limb, like we have to amputate your arm because if not, like you're gonna die. You're gonna end up dying because of infection and it's just gonna spread. And I could see how it could be easy for him to fall into victim mentality mindset of having his arm amputated because that's his identity of working really hard with his hands. Like that's what he's always done his whole life, cooking and construction. But to see how, someone like my dad can actually turn it into like, right? Hey, actually I survived this. Yep. I survived not dying from blood clots and legitimate like blood diseases and sickness. And I survived that. I lost my arm, but since I am a survivor, like this is what I'm doing. Like that it made me think of that.
Yeah. I mean, if you reread this, and that, that it's the battle for survivorhood instead of the battle for victimhood. The winner of the Survivor Olympics gets to feel justified about their life and everything in it because, of the things they've survived instead of the things that weren't their fault and all those things. Like, even if you do something that simple as like just rewrite, this first page, you survived growing up poor. Now what are you going to do? You survived getting picked on as a kid. What are you going to do? You survived your partner leaving you. Now what are you going to do? Like those little adjustments, even in the vernacular of the book, those types of things allow mental toughness and those kind of things to be built up. And I think that's oftentimes when we look at things from a cultural perspective, we do. Andy's right. We compare stories. And what has happened recently is, it used to be we one-upped, especially with guys, like we one-upped when it came to fishing stories, right? Like,
oh, dude.
Oh, I caught this fish, or this is the biggest fish I've ever seen. They're like, oh, you got nothing. I was in this, I caught this. And then as we get older, those things change. Well, there was this jerk at work. Well, this jerk at my work was way worse. And with that one-upsmanship, one of the ways that we kind of get that dopamine hit is by winning those battles. And when those battles come to how hard we have it, we can exaggerate how difficult the situation was well more than we can exaggerate how big a fish was or how, hard a lift was or something. We can tap into something that allows us to look like everything is against us much faster than we can tap into something that's like, oh, this is how I overcame.
Yeah. And it's, people are looking for like hacks. There's not hacks to this. It's about being intentional, shifting your mindset and like staying in the fight.
Right.
It's not an instant overnight thing. And so, it made me think as I was getting on my phone is one time I had a buddy who was going through some stuff and I was like, hey man, we need to read Psalms 91. And I was like, I'm going to read it. Right. And so I'm reading it, but I changed it up, and I'll act like I won't say his name. I'll act like I'm reading it to you.
We'll call him Edrin. That's my go-to.
Edrin.
That's my go-to name.
Edrin. All right.
Yeah.
So, those who live in the shelter of the Most High will find rest in the shadow of the Almighty. This I declare about the Lord. He alone is my refuge, my place of safety. He is my God, and I trust him. For he will rescue you from every trap and protect you from deadly disease. So, I like where it says he alone is my refuge, right? So when you're reading that, boom. But I was telling my buddy, change this up, and I was reading it to him, and I changed it up, and I put his name in there. So it would be as if I was reading to you.
We might need to find an easier name than Edrin.
Yeah. For he will rescue Lucas from every trap and protect Lucas from deadly disease. He will cover Lucas with his feathers. He will shelter Lucas with his wings. His faithful promises are your armor and your protection, Lucas. Do not be afraid of the terrors of the night, nor the arrow that flies of the day. Do not dread the disease that stalks in darkness, nor the disaster that strikes at midday. Though 1,000 fall at your side, though 10,000 are dying around you, the evils will not touch you, Lucas. Just open your eyes, Lucas, and see how the wicked are punished. Lucas, if you make the Lord your refuge, if you make the Most High your shelter, no evil will conquer you, Lucas. No plague will come near your house, Lucas, for he will order his angels to protect you wherever you go, Lucas. They will hold Lucas up with their hands, so Lucas won't even hurt his foot on a stone. Lucas, you will trample upon lions and cobras. You will crush fierce lions and serpents under your feet. The Lord says, I will rescue those who love me. I will protect those who trust in my name. When Lucas calls upon me, I will answer. Lucas, I will be with them in trouble. I will rescue and honor them. I will reward Lucas with a long life and give Lucas my salvation.
Yeah, that's pretty encouraging.
It is. Isn't that? I mean, that's right, legitimate. Yeah. Like, and I mean, you're a pastor and I'm changing up reading it to you and your posture changed a little bit. Yeah. You're like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, this is not so bad.
Oh, yeah, Jesus is going to do that for me.
Right.
But so I did that with my buddy, and it was just a reminder. It was a reminder. And when it shifted his mindset, he was able to control his emotions. He was able to control his anxiety. He was able to be mentally tough and do what he needed to do. And it was awesome.
Yeah. So when we're talking about mental toughness, you've got all of these aspects that we talked about, like being mentally tough in the areas that are important. Mm-hmm. When we talk about the aspects of an individual person, we typically tend to separate them into mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual things.
Okay.
Right? We kind of touched on this a second ago. Like, we build mental toughness around the things that are important, realizing how we have to prioritize our time, all of those types of things. My question to you is, like, in each one of those aspects, if you were going to give us, kind of some pointers on how to build mental toughness in each of those areas, do they look the same? I think is the question I'm trying to ask. Does it look the same is probably the better way to put it. Does it look the same to build emotional mental toughness as it does, or emotional toughness as it does mental toughness, as it does physical toughness, as it does spiritual toughness? Or do those things look a little different because they are nuanced aspects of our person?
I think it's the same, and it looks different as you dive deeper into those different realms.
Okay.
Initially, it's the same because it's a decision.
Yeah.
It's a decision. Do I want to get in shape? Yes or no? Okay.
Yeah.
Do I need to increase my emotional stability? Yes or no? Do I need to be like better spiritually? Yes or no? Like, so we know the answer to all those ultimately are yes.
Right.
It doesn't, like, I don't think there's anybody that is in such good shape that getting in better shape is going to be a bad thing.
Maybe Mike Mitchell.
Just got done with his
His
Iron Man
Iron Man,
70.3. But
Yep.
yeah, I don't think there's one human that's like, I am too healthy.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one human that's, I am too emotionally stable. I don't think there's anybody that's like, I am too mentally tough.
Did you know that the phrase "hold your horses" means to be stable, because that's where horses are. When somebody says "hold your horses," that's what it means. It's like, hey, why don't you be stable? Like that. I just found that out this past week. I was like, that's insane to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because when we talk about that and we use these little idioms, we don't think about it, but that's exactly what it means. Hold your horses. You be stable while we go and get these things done. How crazy is that?
I like that. Mm-hmm. And then the last part is, there's not one human on earth that is spiritually where they need to be in regards to their understanding of the Bible and more importantly, their relationship with God.
For sure.
So my initial answer to that is it's all the same initially, because it's a decision of, okay, I need to be mentally tougher in these areas. And then the next step is, well, what do I need to do to increase that mental toughness?
Yeah.
And if it, obviously for physical stuff, it's going to be different, but it's a lot of mental, but you have to physically put in the work. For the spiritual aspect, you have to physically put in the work of reading the Bible, seeking alone time, like complete alone, quiet time with the Lord, praying, having those hard conversations with other people that you look up to as like spiritual elders and leaders in your life. For the emotional part, it's going to be learning how to control your emotions and, putting yourself in situations where you're able to lead, and you lead yourself and lead the people around you, and, not taking things personally. So if somebody, when I was driving here, this like younger lady pulled up next to me, and I look over, because when a car gets next to me, I always look over and I look over and she's just like glaring at me, like speeds up a little bit, cuts me off. And she's like looking at me in her rearview mirror, and I'm just like laughing. I'm like, what? Why is she so angry?
Yeah.
And then I was like thinking back. So I'm like thinking back to everything. You know what I did? Is I turned in front of her on the road and got in between her and the other car with plenty of space between the two of us. But she's mad that I jumped in front of her, got up to speed, and maintained a safe distance between her and I while I got up to speed. I didn't cut her off. I didn't make her hit her. She didn't have to hit her brakes. You know what I mean? It's just because she's mad because now all of a sudden, like, I, turned and merged in front of her on the way here. You. But, my thing is like, before, if somebody act like that, I would have been pissed off and be like, oh, really? Cool. Like, well, let me speed up and get in front of you and brake check you. And it's like, okay, that's stupid. You're being immature. But, like, all right, I'm not worried about it. I'm not upset. Like, and then I was kind of thinking, and I had like this thought of like, man, she just wakes up angry. Like you and I have talked about it. There's some stuff going on right now. There's some weird things going on with people just being irrational.
Yeah.
And when you look at it from an empathetic view, it's like, oh, dang, that sucks. They have something is going so bad in their life that they feel like they need to attack, somebody that they don't even know, or somebody that they don't know anything about, or somebody that's no longer, able to defend themselves. Is like what type of a sad life do you live that you attack people that can't actually defend themselves?
Well, and I think this kind of speaks to what we're talking about. When we look particularly at toughness in any one of those four categories that we laid out, right? Mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual. They all complement one another, because those are the not to get too philosophical, right? Because that's kind of my thing.
Let's go.
Is that that's what constitutes the essence of being, right? Because like we can point to, like if I were to ask you, hey, point to your arm, right? You can do it. Like right now with Levi, we're one of his favorite songs. There he goes, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Okay.
Did you hear that pop?
Yeah, that was good. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Yeah, but can you touch your toes?
Yeah.
Because Cody can't.
Yeah.
I was reminded of that recently whenever we did what flexibility. So when we're talking about things like mental toughness, like the idea of it is very abstract because you can't point to your mind. But you can't I can't tell you like where my mind exists, but it is what creates the essence of my being and what makes me me. That's what I'm saying. I'm not like traveling down this philosophical road.
I'm just laughing.
Right?
I'm just laughing thinking about what I said at the beginning. I'm like, bro, if someone's living their life like JP in 2015, they are tripping out right now. Listen to this. They're like, hopefully everybody is sober, right?
Right.
We encourage sober living and a sober life.
Yep.
Hopefully everyone's sober listening to this because I could only imagine if I was like half a bottle into Jameson with some, like, you know,
a couple of Tylenol threes.
Yeah, Tylenol, quote.
Yeah.
I hit my system and I'm like, whoa, bro.
Point to your mind. Be like, whoa.
I'm like just standing in front of the mirror trying to look through my pupils
right.
into my brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't do drugs, y'all.
But like that's the thing, Rick. We can't do that. And so there's a lot of these kinds of conversations that end up in a very abstract realm.
Yep.
Because there is no physical action we can take against, you know, this thing. Like we can't build mental toughness by lifting a weight or raking the yard or you know, doing the dishes doesn't build mental toughness necessarily, right? It may in some aspects, but it's very abstract to talk and think about. However, when we're talking about like fighting a victimhood mentality in particular, when we use things like one of the ways that it's often said right now is like playing the victim card. When we do something like that, it affects us emotionally, it affects us mentally, it affects us spiritually. And it also, like when you were reading Psalm 91, said that my posture changed. It affects our posture. There's been a ton of studies that have been done on holding the superhero pose.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So if you stand
like an actual...
like if you stand like Superman or Wonder Woman, like hands on hips and that kind of thing, if you do it before a job interview, your confidence going into the job interview is much different. The way that you sit in the chair is much different, and all of these types of things. And so they encourage people to go like, all right, if you're in a job interview, go to the bathroom, go to the stall so that you don't look or feel weird, stand up, do the superhero pose, hold it for 2 minutes, and then, you know, now go into the job interview or into the place that you're going into. But then the idea that mental toughness only affects this one area of our lives, I think, is a misnomer that a lot of people get onto.
Yeah. And what's crazy is somebody's listening like, that's ridiculous that people have to do this. Mm-hmm. And I agree, because I know there are people that are listening that thinking that, but the ones that think that are the ones that are already mentally tough in almost all aspects of their life. Sure. Because if you have mental toughness and you've been imposing it in your life, you exude confidence. You live your life confidently. You don't need to go sit in the stall of a bathroom with a Superman pose for 2 minutes to get confidence. You live a confident lifestyle.
Right.
And I'm not saying anything bad for the people that have to go do that. If you have to do that, cool, do it. I love that.
Right.
Like go do something that's going to boost your confidence, but don't lose that confidence. Like you have to hold on to it. You have to be mentally tough so that you get to the point where you literally walk around with confidence exuding from you, and people are drawn to that. People want to be around confident people. Confidence, not cocky though. There is a difference. There's some super, I've sent some videos to you of these idiot cocky, like Instagram, they think they're like leaders and or business experts or gurus in their industry, and they're morons, man, because all they do, they're con artists, right?
Yeah.
They're straight up con artists, where you're, you know, and it's just it's sad, because what they're doing is they're preying on the people that are drawn to confidence, and they have fake confidence. They're not genuine, right? They are literally preying on the weak.
Yeah.
And that's why it's also important that we are mentally tough so that we don't fall to that. trap.
into those traps.
Oh yeah, because
For
it's
sure.
easy. It's easy to get drawn into the like, oh man, I want to be like this guy. That guy's got it all figured out. And then you try to like, it's just, that's why we have to have our own mental toughness.
Yeah, and I do think that there's an aspect to mental toughness where we begin to not really care about one, what other people think, but also what other people have to do. Right? So like the instance that I'm like, oh, that seems dumb that this person has to do that. Like if that's how they do it and that helps them out, cool. And so my sister-in-law, she is just over 5 foot tall, but everybody in the school district, even though she is like this tiny little gal, and the best way that I can describe her is that when you talk to her, she's so positive, and she has this very sweet, dainty voice that she literally, like, after you have a conversation with her for like 30 seconds, you immediately picture that like little woodland creatures help her to get dressed in the morning. Like she's very like Snow White in like her innocence, her positivity, like all of that kind of stuff. But she is incredibly confident. She's the one who told me about this pose thing. And I immediately had that same kind of idea, like, why would you have to do that? But she's confident, she's strong, she's very mentally tough. Her and Kirsten are great friends. And so I went and she was like, you know what? If you don't think that you should try it to test it out, she's like, maybe that just proves that you're not as big and bad as you think you are. If you're afraid to try my little thing,
Exactly, because if you had the confidence, it wouldn't bother you,
right?
Exactly.
It wouldn't bother me. Yeah. So I was
amazing.
like, gosh, man, and like talk about chopping me down to size. So I was like, all right, well, I'll give it a shot. And yeah, there was something to it. But I do think that when we reach a certain point of mental toughness and with confidence in and of ourselves, that if somebody has something like, hey, this is what I have to do, then you're like, cool, good for you, man.
Why do you think in boot camp they told us to walk with your head up, chest out?
I don't know.
For this exact same reason. I'm going to punch you in the face.
That's like Peterson's 12 rules. That's one of them, right? Stand up straight with your shoulders back, because it helps you to be more confident, because you're in a pot, and really your body's in alignment. There's a lot of like stuff.
I mean, there's so many things.
But that's one of the biggest things in overcoming some of these hurdles, is getting out of that mentality that there's nothing I can do about it. Everything was done to me. Like,
actually,
you survived all of these things. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. Go do the superhero pose if you need to. And notice if you don't start to overcome more things, because you're building those little bits of mental toughness. Like this is such a cool and I think important topic, man.
All right, I'm going to jump through and read a few things that I have underlined.
Let's do it.
And again, you guys just need to get this book. All right, so all playing the victim does is take your challenge and put it into somebody else's plate. Thankfully, for as many victims as there are in the world, there are also plenty of people who are willing to not only do their share of life's work, but other people's too. I call these two groups of people the winners. I call these two groups of people the whiners and the winners. Let's see. Okay, scrolling down. The winners know that life is not fair, but they don't expect it to be. Why would they? It's never been fair throughout all of history. It's never been fair in nature. Why would we like it to be? Of course, but it isn't. And if you expect the world to act the way that you want it to, then you will be consistently miserable and consistently knocked on your butt. Winners deal in real. Scrolling down. So why would you expect to go through life untouched? Scrolling down some more. These are just like little random thoughts I want people just to think about before we open up a few more thoughts and close this out. The opposite of idealism is realism. And this is a mindset that you need to cultivate if you want to succeed in life, because this is what will allow you to objectively look at yourself and the world so that you can make smart, informed decisions based on actual data and probabilities. You have to realize that you are operating on a battlefield, not a bouncy castle where happiness rains down from the sky just because we wanted to. You want to make a difference in the world? Then be a realist. be a winner. Then you'll actually be in a position where you can make changes to help people live better lives. And it won't be because you complained and wished that things were different. It'll be because you went out and did the work. Scrolling down some more. Ever since you were a kid, you have been put through an indoctrination program that develops your mind into a particular way of thinking. This goes back to what we talked about earlier about, hey, having good parents, having a good support system, being in church. Like, yes, we're all being indoctrinated. In what direction are we? Scrolling down some more. The reason mental toughness is so important in this regard is because it takes a measure of mental toughness to recognize that you are stuck in a system that makes you unhappy. And it takes a heck of a lot of mental toughness to break free from those chains. Let's be real. When you go your own way and live by your own rules, you're going to lose people from your life. And you're going to find out that you have very little common with people who want to be spoon-fed by society. You'll be frustrated. You'll be angry. You'll be lonely. You need strong mental toughness to overcome those things. If you don't have it, you'll give up the fight, and then you'll be a victim. A true victim. You'll be a victim of your own weakness. If you want to make an impact in the world, then get real and deal in facts. Develop mental toughness and become a winner, not a whiner. All right, so obviously there's a lot more that we could have unpacked in that chapter.
No doubt.
I want you guys to all go get it and read the book. What do you got? What are some thoughts before we close this out?
Man, the biggest thing to me is the difference. When we were talking about the minor shifts in mentality, that seems to be the crux of this particular chapter, is that making, we talk about small iterative decisions, making small iterative changes in your mentality of, I'm going to choose not to think this way today.
Yeah.
And then those things start to snowball.
Yeah.
And I did like the way that he prepared things at the end, that like, you're going to lose friends, you're going to be lonely, these kind of things are going to happen.
But you're going to get better people in your life.
Right. And what's interesting to me about that is if you continue down the road with victimhood, those things are going to happen there as well. You're going to lose friends. You're going to be lonely. You're going to find yourself in a place where you're struggling to overcome, but you will have not equipped yourself to handle that place. Whereas if you start to develop a winning mentality, survivor mentality, whatever we want to call it, then when you get to that point, because every one of us is going to get to that point, you've got the tools in your toolbox to overcome it.
Yeah.
Versus being in that place and realizing like, well, this is everybody else's fault, but now I don't have the skills, I don't have the tools in my toolbox to get out of this hole that I'm in.
Yeah. It's understanding that we all actually have access to the same capabilities mentally. We have to just decide that that's where we're going to go. And to reiterate what you just said, making small adjustments. Hey, change one thing.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself with one thing. Yeah, I know we've talked about it before, but like my buddy Justin with 360 Fitness down in Keller, when he has clients that come in to lose weight, he starts with small changes. Mm-hmm. He doesn't reprogram their whole life because that's not sustainable for most people.
Yeah.
They need small incremental changes. And what's cool is when they do those small incremental changes, they get confidence in their abilities, and that develops mental toughness. And the more confidence, the more mental toughness they have. And it grows and it grows and it grows. And it's incredible. I was down in the Dripping Springs area for the grand opening of Leif's new gym. Stoic. Stoic Jiu-Jitsu. Him and Marcus and Lacey own that gym. And it was an awesome grand opening. And the next day.
Love the art that they have on the walls in that gym. It's so cool.
It is unreal. Mm-hmm. It's the whole Stoic Jiu-Jitsu in Dripping Springs, Texas. It's on the outskirts of Austin, in the greater Austin area. It's in the hill country. One of my like favorite places so far that I found in Texas is Dripping Springs area.
Yeah,
it's
no
just
doubt.
beautiful. But anyways, I was down there and spent the day with Jocko and Leif for the grand opening, and then the next day spent the day working with Leif, and we went out to the shooting range to test out some new gear that we got for Bruiser arms. And
I want to hear more about this someday.
yes, and so Noah Anderson, who works with us at Echelon Front, was filming Leif and I at the range, and I mean, it was awesome. It was an awesome day of shooting, and Leif and I trying out these new guns that we have for Bruiser arms and like our gear boxes, and I mean, so if you guys want to follow us, it's at Bruiser Arms on Instagram. We're going to be putting out some more content and some more information on that in the near future, but I was thinking about something as you said this, is like making those small little changes, and Noah was shooting a pistol, and I was like, hey man, do this, and I literally made a small adjustment with his hand, like rotated his support hand just forward a little bit, had his thumbs laying on top of each other towards the target, and told him to just press his palms together to hold the pistol, not squeezing, but just pressing the palms together, and that isolates a smooth trigger pull. And Leif was sitting there, and then Leif went over and he was shooting, and comes back and is like, bro, I've never heard somebody do that before. Like, never heard somebody teach that before. He's like, I did that, and it made a noticeable difference. And you're talking a small little tweak.
Yeah.
And Leif is saying, think about it, small tweak, noticeable difference. And there's a guy a few bays over, and he was shooting this rifle, and he kept like, he's getting all frustrated. And I was just like watching. I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to like give advice or whatever. Yeah, I don't want to be that guy. But then I was shooting, and I noticed he kept looking over at like our targets, and he was at the point where he had seen what I had been doing on the rifle and pistol. So I knew that if I give him a tip, if he's just somewhat of a just decent, humble person, he's going to listen.
It's obvious that what you are doing and what he's doing is yielding different results.
Bro, I didn't realize that one time I stopped, and Leif was like, bro, you got a crowd. I looked around. Everybody on the inside range was watching me shoot, and on the outside, all the people in this like really nice lobby area were like standing behind me, watching me like shoot these different rapid fire rifle drills.
That's
fun. It was awesome, but I didn't realize. I was like, oh, this is awkward. He goes, yeah, okay, bro. But I gave this guy, I was like, hey, do you want some unsolicited advice?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah. And so I was like, hey, just do this, change this, and then hold your sights right here. And he did that. And then like after he got excited, he showed Noah and I the target. And he went from like having just look like he was shooting a shotgun to like a super tight group.
That's awesome, man.
And but again, small little tweaks.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to think about in life. Just, hey, what are some small tweaks that we need to make? So I mean, we've made a lot of tweaks in business.
Yep.
I know at Echelon Front with what we do. If you go to echelonfront.com, you can see what we do at Echelon Front, and follow us on social media. We teach leadership to individuals and companies all around the world. I love it. I love what we get to do. It's absolutely incredible. So, all the support you guys have given Lucas and I with this podcast, watching on YouTube, watching the YouTube exclusive Q&A sessions, sharing those, commenting on the shorts, sharing the shorts, all that. I mean, you guys don't understand. I didn't understand until Lucas educated me how much that actually helps us. So I just want to say thank you, for all the support you guys give us by listening, sharing, subscribing, commenting, doing all the awesome things that you guys do. So if you want to follow Lucas and I on social media, if you're not, I am at JP Dinnell, JPDINNELL, and Lucas is at Lucas Pinkard, at LUCASPINCKARD. I just talked about Echelon Front. Make sure you're following us at Echelon Front. And you can go to our website, echelonfront.com. We have the Battlefield review in Gettysburg going on this week. So when you listen to it, we just got done with it. We have the council coming up. The first one sold out. We have another one that's available. So if you want information on that, hit me up. It's a higher end, like group setting, mastermind type of event. There's nothing else like it right now. It's up in the mountains of Washington. It's absolutely incredible and beautiful. And I'm going to be working with our team to get another one at a different location in the near future as well. So we have a little versatility on locations and travel and stuff like that.
It's pretty busted.
Yeah, we have the muster in Nashville coming up. I don't know if it's going to be sold out by the time you listen to this week. We are knocking at the door of it being sold out right now. I do know that. I know when we're like almost about to be sold out is when I get text messages from Jen Tarantino saying, hey, is there anybody that you wanted to come to the muster that's not signed up yet? That's when I know, we are like 10, 15, 20 people away from being sold out. I need to get her mind, like we're talking like, clients that we know that, hey, we want to come to the muster and they don't get signed up. So following up with them and stuff like that. But we're going to be in Nashville in May, first week of May. It's going to be incredible. And then also we have the other muster coming up in October in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The muster is a 2-day leadership event that we do at Echelon Front with Jocko, Leif, myself, Dave Burke, Jamie Cochran, all the Echelon Front instructors. It's absolutely incredible. It's an incredible event that we do here at Echelon Front that allows individuals, small groups, medium groups, and even large groups come and see what we do so you can check it out. We also have FTX 014 coming up in September in Dallas-Fort Worth. That's our field training exercise. It's all the hands-on scenario-based leadership training that we do at Echelon Front that allows individuals and small groups, medium and large groups come check it out before they commit to the corporate FTXs that we do provide. Those are customized field training exercises that we do for your company. But we have that coming up in September. You can go to echelonfront.com, click on events, scroll through, see all the different things that we have going on. If you're not a member of Extreme Ownership Academy, you should be. Check it out. We got some awesome courses on there. So appreciate everything that you guys do. All the support that you guys give us for Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. We just had an event this last Saturday at Double Five in Highlands Village. That's Formiga's gym. His new location. Matt Chandler came and shared his testimony.
He's pretty good.
It was unreal. We had 178 people on the mats training.
Dang.
Over 200 total with the people that were hanging out in the lobby, listening, watching. I mean, it was incredible. And just all the support you guys have given that podcast. So we have a podcast, Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu podcast. You can follow us on social media. That's at Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu _USA. It's a ministry I'm doing with Isaac, Steven, and Josh. It's awesome. We do live events, the podcast, and just helping disciple people. Also partner with the Texas beef company called Little Cattle Co.
Get that beef.
You can follow us on social media. We are at Little Cattle Co. Our website is our name. It's littlecattle.co. Again, that it's littlecattle.co. Partnered up with my best friend Steven and his wife Amanda for our families to help build and grow that company. We deliver beef to anywhere in the lower 48 states. A la carte. You can order one steak or you can order 50 steaks. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. We also have our ground beef subscription plan that's rolled out. It's absolutely incredible. I would get on that before we have to make changes to it, or we might have to pause the amount of new subscribers until we figure out the ground beef game, because we actually have a greater demand for it than we are approaching on being able to produce for ground beef. So that's a blessing.
Pretty cool.
So again, hopefully you guys check that out. And if you listen to a few episodes that I did ago with Stephen Little, there's a little Easter egg in there. There's a discount code for you with Little Cattle Co. So if you listen to that, you get that discount code. But also, all the amount of people that have been ordering boxes of beef as gifts for friends and family members and like coworkers and clients, instead of like sending like the cheesy like customer gift or whatever, people are sending boxes of beef, and it is awesome. And the feedback that we get is absolutely incredible. I know Argyle PD, they're big supporters of Little Cattle Co. They come in, they get a bunch of ground beef, like the different police officers, not the PD. They're not spending PD money on this. I know there's somebody can be like, abuse and use of funds. Like, no. These
defund Little Cattle Co.
No, Argyle PD, the different officers that serve and protect the community that I live in, that we are very close to as we're recording here, they individually support our business and order steaks and ground beef from us. So we appreciate all of our first responders that are out there serving and protecting. And it's also it's amazing what we get to do. Also, On the Path Printing, It's a t-shirt apparel printing company. Started with Josh Strasburger. You can follow us on social media. And we talked about Bruiser Arms. It's a company I'm a partner with that Leif and I started. Obviously, Jocko's involved in that as well. You can check us out on Instagram at Bruiser Arms. We're going to be putting out some more content, so make sure you're following there to be the first to hear about the products and also the training classes that we're going to be having to offer to individuals and to corporations as well. I also want to thank all the support Origin and Jocko Fuel has given me over the years, ever since I've known them. What they're doing is absolutely incredible. 100% American-made Jiu-Jitsu gear, 100% American-made jeans and pants and boots and wallets and belts and t-shirts and hoodies and hats and beanies. Everything is 100% American made. Also, JockoFuel.com. Check out those clean and incredible supplements. I have a signature energy drink with them. Well, I had or have, I don't know how you would say that. Anyway, Sour Apple Sniper was my drink, but we changed it because as the company's growing and expanding and we are going into more areas, some people had an issue with the name Sour Apple Sniper and Whoop Assault Watermelon and Tropic Thunder and Citrus Psycho.
Dax
Savage and Mango Mayhem.
Did they have a problem with Mango Mayhem, or were they just like, if we're changing everything, then Echo can't have his drink anymore?
So they changed everything because like some of the retailers had issues with the names could be perceived as being aggressive.
Ooh.
So you know what? Here's the deal. Our egos could have gotten in the way. We could be like, nope, holding the line. We are using our unique signature names. Or we could do what we should do and say, cool, no factor. We want people to have access to the cleanest and healthiest energy drinks on the market. Cool. We're just going to have generic names. So that's what we have. And it's allowing us to have a greater reach, which therefore allows us to have a greater impact, which that's the goal.
Yeah.
Is reach and impact and growth. That's what we're doing here at Echelon Front. That's what we're doing here at Little Cattle Co. That's what we're doing at On the Path Printing. That's what we do at Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. And that's what we're trying to do here on the JP Dinnell podcast. So I hope this episode has been a reminder for you to go out, do the work needed, and to never settle. This has been the JP Dinnell podcast, episode 29.